Today we are reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I had some very high expectations walking into the cinema for this one. I had literally just watched Into the Spider-Verse for the first time the night before. Yes, I didn't watch it initially. Yes, I've not watched this film for 5 years since it released. Yes, I'm a moron. Yes, blame me if you want. At the time, I just wasn't that interested. I don't know what it was. I just wasn't that interested in it. A lot of people rated it really highly, but I think a lot of people didn't really take the animated Spider-Verse movie seriously. I'm not gonna lie. I think a lot of people were just like, don't really care about it. We've got the Tom Holland Spider-Man. We've got the MCU. The MCU's got to be way bigger, all that stuff. People like me, we just kind of maybe skipped out on it, or we just didn't. But damn, I watched the Into the Spider-Verse movie. I really liked it. Walking into Across the Spider-Verse, I was like, damn, this needs to be a banger. Like, I need to see some top tier animated sequel shit. I need to see some Shrek 2 kind of shit, some Toy Story 2 kind of shit. I need an animated sequel that is top tier. And man, they delivered, bro. They delivered. Like, this is another really banging movie from Sony Animation. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is definitely going to be in a tier of, is it one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time? Is it better than the first one? I don't know. I still prefer the first one a little bit. I think this one expands on the concept a bit, but there is a few things in it where I'm just like, that is kind of annoying. But yeah, let's talk. But first and foremost, let's talk about all the good things in this movie. Of course, the animation is crazy. I feel like this series of movies have just revolutionized animation. Like, the way it's done, the way it's like comic booky, but all the backgrounds and the characters are so well done. It's just amazing. The animation, the music compounded with the animation, they just can do things you can't do in other movies and that we haven't seen in other animation before. Like, I'm no expert on it, but even me, someone who's kind of brain dead and knows nothing about drawing, nothing about animation, can see how good and how much care is taken when they animate these characters and they animate the world. There's not one detail that goes amiss. Like, even in scenes where there's two characters talking to each other, like, the backgrounds and the things they're doing with the animation are so fucking cool. And yeah, you never really get bored watching this. In terms of the story, there's a lot of good things to be had with the story. I think there's some great character development, some great character relationships between Miles and Gwen, and Miles and his parents. We see some great stuff between Gwen's backstory. We get to see more development from the characters we saw in the first movie, which is great. Of course, we have the whole multiverse concept. Something I've hated in other Marvel movies, but this is maybe the only Marvel movie or any movie that's really nailed the multiverse concept really well. I think what they do with it is great. They kind of find a feasible way for the multiverse to exist and actually fit it into a movie very well. Unlike Doctor Strange, for example, where the multiverse concept is shit, and then you go into Spider-Man No Way Home, where the multiverse concept was a little more fun. But I think the movie was just more fun because we got to see the three Spider-Men fighting together. It was more nostalgic and more just wacky than it was like realistic, or the concept made sense. But in this movie, the concept is beautiful. It all makes sense. I want to talk about the villain. The villain in this might be my favorite Spider-Man villain because he's kind of funny. Because he starts out super unserious and he's just a wacky guy. Guy's literally having a fight with an ATM. He can't even use his powers properly. And it's quite funny that Miles is just fighting him and with no difficulty. And yeah, the villain just turns into from this funny, goofy guy who they keep calling Villain of the Week to being a serious, threatening villain who is super powerful. And he, for me, is the funniest character in the entire movie. Some of his jokes are actually hilarious. I just think he is a funny character, and the voice acting for him was spot on, by the way. And the voice acting for all the characters was really good. But for the villain in particular, I think they call him Spot or whatever, he is my favorite character in this entire movie. It's also interesting how they play with the good and evil within the Spider-Men themselves. We always see that heroes are meant to be the positive, heroes are always the ones in the right. Yes, we've seen some movies like Civil War where we see the heroes fight each other. I think the recent Batman movie with Robert Pattinson kind of shows Batman more as not an anti-hero, but you see the dark side of it. But yeah, we see in this how different Spider-Men could have different personalities and how there's differences in each one of them, which I think is really cool. All in all, this movie is just amazing. Is there a few things I don't like about this movie? Of course, there is one or two things I want to talk about. The first one is the main character's jokes aren't as funny as the first one. Like, there was times in Into the Spider-Verse where I was legitimately laughing at quite a lot of the jokes. I didn't find that many jokes as funny in the second movie. Not that that's a bad thing. Yes, there's still quite a few funny moments, mainly the villain, but yeah, it's just a minor thing that the jokes weren't as funny to me personally. There is also the thing where they're constantly reminding you of the backstory. It's like, one last time, I'm Miles Morales and I'm the only Spider-Man. Well, we heard that about 5 times in the first movie. and then like, fuck it, we're gonna do it another few times in this movie. It's like, I know who Miles is at this point. If you're watching the sequel, you probably know who he is. So it is a bit annoying that they like to dawdle and give us recaps. But I guess there might be quite a few people who maybe didn't watch the original who go and watch this, because there's people like me who didn't watch the original. And the movie did come out 5 years ago. And also, by the way, watching this movie is incredibly difficult, the original, because, at least in the UK, because either you need to have a Now TV subscription or you just have to buy it on YouTube or fucking Amazon Prime Video or wherever it is. You can't watch it anywhere for free. What the fuck is this, bro? Why is it not on like Netflix or anything like that? Why is it on fucking Now TV? Fucking Sony, bro. But I do find some of the recap scenes a bit annoying. Doesn't really derail the movie too much. But the main thing that kind of pissed me off was this movie started ramping up really great towards the end. Like it was going, it's like a roller coaster going up. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I can't wait to see how this movie ends. I'm enjoying it. I was looking at my watch being like, wow, I've been in here for almost 2 hours. So we're getting towards the end of the movie. And it was just ramping up and ramping up towards the end. And I was like, here we go. Something big is going to happen. And then they kind of just end the movie. And they kind of just basically say, well, the sequel's coming, guys. Yeah, the sequel's on its way. And I guess it's the whole Spider-Man Infinite. It's kind of like Infinity War and Endgame. But at that time, everybody knew there was going to be an Endgame. Right, that was the whole thing. I'm pretty sure we knew there was going to be Infinity War and Endgame. In this one, though, it was kind of irritating. Like, did we really need to end it or just cut it in half on a cliffhanger? Now this movie can't really stand alone, which kind of pisses me off. I like when, even in a trilogy, each movie can be watched and appreciated in its own right? Like, if you think about Guardians of the Galaxy, yes, there is a story continuation, but you can watch each one by themselves. Even the original Spider-Man trilogy, each movie is can stand alone. In this one, it kind of just feels a bit like it was used now as a setup towards the sequel, which is a bit annoying. It doesn't take away that the movie was amazing. It just now makes it kind of feel like a filler episode, which is a minor gripe I have with it. But yeah, overall, we're rating this out of 10. I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. Really, really good movie. I suggest you watch it. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure you will too. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. I'll see you all in the next one.